what we found out over the past week or so, we found out in order to graph a line, one time we were given 2 points. If we have 2 points on the graph, then I just draw the line through it. And then we found out if I have 1 point and they give me the slope, I can graph a line. We did that. Or we found out yesterday that we can fill out a T-chart and graph all of the points from the T-chart. Or yesterday we found out that we can simply graph the intercepts. So when you're getting ready to graph lines, or you're going to need to use a line for something in the problem, now we have all these different ways that you can graph a line, whatever you want. And today, I'm going to teach you the fastest way you can graph strictly from the equation itself. This is the fastest way. This is the way I prefer. However, you don't always get to use what you prefer. Let me see, Doris, is this showing up? Oh, you're not seeing
I can see.
Not one thing. Huh. Oh, because I went the other way. Ha ha ha. I went the other blackboard. Let me see here. Look at here. Ah, now, there we go. I'll just have to turn it back and forth, okay? But here's what I was talking about right here. Are you able to see that far on the recording?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So in order to graph the line again, for those of you that couldn't see the board a minute ago, we learned to graph the line from 2 points, or if we're given a point and a slope, we can do it, or make a T-chart, or just plot the intercepts. Remember, intercepts, we found out yesterday, that means a point right on the axis. Okay, so you can have an x-intercept, that's a point on the x, or you can have a y-intercept, and that point is plotted right on the y-axis. Okay, but today what we're going to do is find out how to plot or how to graph a line from the actual equation that is in slope-intercept form. So here's what we're going to do. A reminder that when they talk about having an equation in the slope-intercept form, that's just a long phrase that means solve it for y. Now we have seen this already this week. This is solved for y. The way, the pattern that this is slope-intercept form, okay? It's slope-intercept form. Now remember this, it's solved for y. The number we found out yesterday, the number in front of the x will always be the slope. And now the number here, I mentioned it the other day, but we're going to talk about it a lot today. This number, including its sign, is called the y-intercept. The y-intercept. Now, what does the word intercept tell you? That point is where?
In the middle, a 0.
It has a 0. The point is somewhere on the y-axis.
Yeah.
Okay, if you'll remember, intercept means on the axis, and this one will always be plotted on the y-axis, always. Okay, all right, let's look at the first one now. Number 1 on your page 6 of packet 3 says 3y minus 15 equals negative 6x. I notice that some of you still need practice You always need practice solving for y, okay? Always. So we're going to do like we did yesterday because I need this equation to be moved around as much as you have to get the y by itself and have a number and x and then a constant here. I need this pattern, okay? After you get that pattern, you're good, okay? So let's solve this. We want to solve for y. So that tells us to focus on this side of the equation, which means if I want y by itself, I'm going to have to get rid of the 3, and I'm going to have to get rid of this minus 15. Now, quite a while back, we talked about this 3 being so close to the y, it's a best friend, and the best friend leaves last. So let's get rid of the straggler. It's a minus 15, so we're going to add 15. When I add 15 over here, I'm not going to add it under the x's because 15 is a plain number and these are x's. So I'm going to give it its own column. Now, I want to find out what's left. So I have a negative 15 and a positive 15. When I put those together, it's always 0. These are additive inverse. And now I'm going to add everything straight down. So now I have left a 3y, a negative 6x plus 15. Okay? But the y is not by itself. And the 3 is the only thing left that I have to get rid of now.
What about the
Good, good. It's divided by 3 because originally it's multiplied together. So we're going to divide by 3. And when we divide by everything. Divide by 3, divide by 3. So now my final linear equation is an invisible 1y equals negative 2x plus 5. Y'all see? Because 6 divided by 3 is 2, it's negative. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, now I have this equation in this form. Now the first time I graph, I'm just going to graph right here on the blackboard. So I want to erase the work. Did y'all get the work down? Everybody's okay? Okay. Okay, so my equation matches this. It's y equals negative 2x plus 5. Okay, now this is what I want you to do with every one of your problems. I want you to actually write out these two pieces of information. All you're going to need is what is the slope and what is the y-intercept. You need to look at this equation and find out this and this. And if you know these, you can graph the line. Deal? Put that. If I see it again, I'm taking it. Okay, so if we follow these, then the number that is in front of the x is the slope. So you're going to write the slope after m. M stands for slope. Slope equals negative 2. And then the y-intercept is this, including the sign. Remember, you have to include the sign on both of them. So it is 5. This is all you need right here to graph the line. Here's how we're going to graph the line. X, Y. Okay. Now, one of my silly stories, I like to personify my math. And so what I always graph first is the y-intercept. That's my house. I live on Y because that's the best place to live. I live on Y. That's the elegant part of town. Y. And one of my students years ago said, if that's my house, then that's where I be. Okay, that's where I be. And so she lives, or I live at 5 on the Y axis, always the Y axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my house. And in order to get to my friend's house, I'm going to use the slope like a GPS. Okay, now remember that the slope has to have a rise and a run, but this only has one number. So I'm going to put it over 1. And now my rise from my house is going to be a -2, and my run is going to be 1. So I have established where I live. Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain that one more time? Because I didn't get it. Why did you turn it into a 1?
Why did I put it over 1? Because anytime I'm going to execute the slope, I have to be able to do 2 directions. I have to be able to rise and run. And when I worked out this problem, I only got -2. And in order to make any whole number a fraction, you can put it over 1. So for the slope, I always, if I'm going to graph, I have to have a fraction, a top and a bottom, a rise and a run. Okay? All right. Now, on the test, if they, excuse me, if they're not asking you to graph and they just say, give me the slope, then -2 will be an acceptable answer. But you have to know that if the slope is -2 and they're asking you to graph, you have to have a rise and run. So you'll have to put it over 1. You see? All right. If you don't have a fraction, put it over 1.
So it would be -2/1?
Yes, ma'am. And we're going to use that right now. We've established where I be, where my house is. My house will always be on the Y-axis, always. That's where the Y-intercept is. Now I'm going to use the slope as the GPS. So it says to rise -2. That means up and down, but negative goes down. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and then I turn the corner and run a +1 block. So I'm going to run 1. Do you see? So I came from my house. I rose a -2, 1, 2, turned the corner and ran 1 block. That GPS took me straight to my friend's house. And anytime you have 2 points, all you have to do, that's all you need to graph a line, is just 2 points.
What about the 5?
The 5 was where I live on the Y-axis.
Okay, yeah.
Do you see it? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good, I'm glad you're asking
And then
questions.
you went down -2,
Yes, because my rise was a -2,
and then +1.
and then I ran 1. Yes. Any questions, Doris?
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Okay, we're going to do 1 or 2 more, okay? Let me know when you have this. I don't want to go too fast. I tutor some students that they said their professor writes and talks so fast and then erases that all they do is get it copied down, but they don't really have time to listen and understand. So sometimes if I go slow, it's because I'm trying to give you time to soak it in. Are you soaking, Jesus? I'd really like for you to put that in your pocket because I'm going to take it. Thank you, sir. Okay. Any questions on this one? This is number 1 on your worksheet. Now I'm going to make up one. So it might be really weird. But we can do this with anything. Let's say 3x minus 4y equals negative, no, I want +12. Okay. Here's the equation. This is an example. Okay, and my instructions to you are graph this line. That's all it's going to be, graph this line. So when I tell you to graph a line, you know you're going to have to solve for y. That's my first step. I have to solve for y first. And so, Christina, you like steps. So the first step is solve for y, okay? So number one step, solve for y. Here we go. Here's the y, which means I have to get rid of this -4 and this whole thing. I don't want this here. So I'm not trying to just get rid of the 3, which means I would divide. I want to get rid of 3x, so I'm going to subtract 3x. If I do it on one side, I have to balance this equation and put it on the other side. I let it have its own column. Okay, and so now this is 0, and I'm going to add straight down, so I'm left with the -4y equals 12 minus 3x. The y is not by itself, and so I need to divide now. I don't want to get rid of the y, just the -4. So I'm going to divide by what I want to get rid of. And now the negatives cancel each other out. The 4 divided by 4 is 1. And so now I have y equals 12 divided by 4 is 3. But it's a negative because there's only one negative here. And then this minus and a negative cancel each other out. And I have 3/4 x. So this is, when they cancel out, they become a plus 3/4 x. Now, if you want it to be exactly in this form, then we'll take the 3/4 x and switch places with the -3. And that's what I'll do up here at the top. Have you got it down? Got it down? Okay. Now, if switching places bothers you, don't do it. I'm going to rewrite this up here so we can graph it. So I've got y equals, but in my pattern, I really like to have the x number first. So I'm going to take the x number and its sign and write it first. So I have 3/4 x. And then I'm trading places. Very important to bring that sign with you. No, -3. Are you okay with the switch here? If you're going to switch places, that's fine, as long as you make sure that the sign comes with the value. All right. So what I want you to do on every one of your problems, I want you to tell me what the slope is. And I want you to tell me what the y-intercept is. The slope is here in front of the x. Do not use the x, just the 3/4. So you can see here, Christina, that I don't have to put anything over 1 because I already have a rise and a run. Do you see it?
Mhm.
So rise and run. We'll do that in a minute. And then I want to know what the y-intercept is. Remember, don't just remember it as a b, because some of the questions on the GED might say, it won't say find b. It'll say, tell me what the y-intercept is. Well, it's the same thing. B and the y-intercept are the same thing, okay? So in this case, it's a -3. All right? And you only need those 2 pieces of information to graph this equation. So let's do it again. This is your x always, and this is your y. Remember, you live in the best part of town. You live on the y, okay? You live on y. So we're going to graph where you live. This is where IB is -3. 1, 2, 3. This is my house. Now use your GPS to get to the other house. So I'm going to rise a positive 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to turn and run in a positive direction 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's my friend's house. And remember, we're graphing a line, and a line goes on forever, so you put arrows on the ends. How do you feel?
Okay.
Are you here or are you here?
I'm here. I was already trying to work on 2 and I just got mixed up on the X.
So let's do number 2. Any questions on this one? No? Okay. Let's do number 2 on your worksheet.
Not the Y, the X intercept, but the minus 5X.
All right, let's just do it. Okay, negative 5x. This is number 2 on your worksheet. All right. Since the y's on this side, we're going to concentrate on getting rid of everything over here, except the y. Sorry about my shoes. They squeak. There you go. Okay. All right. So remember, 6 is the best friend, so we're going to wait. We've got to get rid of this guy over here. I don't want to split them up. I want rid of the whole thing, so I'm going to say, I'm going to add 5x to get rid of this. See, the negative 5x, I need to do the opposite operation. So I'm going to add negative x as a subtract. Is that one of the places you were stuck, maybe?
I got all that. I didn't put my signs right, but I did do all that, and then I went all the way over and I put yes.
Okay, so you're okay to hear.
X. I didn't add my X on the.
Yeah, then you would have gotten 7 here and you would have been all messed up, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this gives you 0, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm left with a 6y equals 12 minus 5x. I want the y by itself. It's multiplied. So again, Jesus, right?
Yep.
We're going to divide by 6 and remember to divide everything by 6. And so now I have, this is an invisible 1y. I have a y left equals 12 divided by 6 is 2 minus, because there's not another negative to cancel, 5/6 x. Now the y's by itself. I really like the x number in front. So after I erase this, we're just going to switch places. But we'll do it carefully because you have to switch with signs. So our equation is going to look like y equals, but I want this part to go first. Remember, include the sign. So it's a negative 5/6 x. The sign on here, if there's no sign, it's a positive. So plus 2. All right. Now, like I said, if this bothers you, you can use this equation. You just have to be careful which one's the slope. The slope is always the number that's with the x. Okay. So
I got exactly that.
good.
Right.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just, on the first step where you did the negative 5x and then how to get rid of everything on this side,
Mhm.
I just didn't bring down my x and then bring it over.
Isn't that funny?
So I
That's
lost
that
one
little,
X.
little tiny x just messes everything up. Okay, so what I want you to tell me is, what is the slope? What is the y-intercept? What is the slope, Christina?
Huh?
What is the slope out of this equation?
5, 6. Right?
Negative 5/6, right? Negative 5/6, good. And the y-intercept, Mary? 2. And this is all the information you need to graph. X, Y, and we live on Y. We live at 2. 1, 2. That's where I live, always on the Y, because that's called the y-intercept. Now, using my GPS, I use GPS a lot. I don't know my directions. So this is the rise, and this is the run. Now, in this case, our rise is going to be down because it's negative. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is where I turn the corner and run a positive 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here is where my friend lives. And the straight line that goes through there, beautiful. Anyhow, join it, join the 2 points and put arrows on the end.
Can you do that one more time, please?
Which one? Just the graphing or all of it?
No, just the negative 5/6 and 2.
Okay. All right. From my house, coming out the front door of my house, I have to rise a negative, which means I have to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. And then I turn and
It's off
run.
the graph.
I'm pardon?
It's off the graph on the. Yeah.
On yours?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll show you how to do it. But let's go ahead and finish this right here. And then I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, which would be right there. That's how I got it. Now, what I want to do here, do you remember our very first day? What type of slope is this?
That's a negative.
Yes, it starts high and goes low, so it's a negative slope. Look at your slope. It's a negative number. They have to match. The way that this slants and the way that, and the sign on the slope have to match. Okay, if they don't, you've made a mistake. Okay, let's go the other way since you guys are telling me it doesn't fit on the graph on the worksheet.
Yeah, the answer is positive on the sheet.
It's what?
It's positive.
Yeah, the answer.
Miss
On-
Deborah,
Number 2.
Then did we write the problem, then me, did I write the problem down incorrectly? So I added, oh, good heavens.
It's a +2.
Yeah, I can. Positive one.
We're starting all over again. No problem, it was me. No problem with practice. My fault. Here's the problem. I do this about once or twice a day. Thank you, Mary. Here's the problem. I don't know if I wrote it down wrong or I worked it wrong last time. So here's this. There's the y. I have to get rid of the 5x, so I'm going to plus 5x. I think I might have minus 5x over here. Plus 5x. I have to do the same thing to both sides. I think I did.
Yeah, me too.
So make sure and change it in your notes. Made a mistake. Well, thank you guys. So I have y equals 2 plus 5/6 x. Better? Because the last time I had minus 5x or 5/6. Okay. So if I've been doing math and have a math education and I've done it for almost 40 years, well, a little bit more than 40, then if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Okay, just fix it. So y equals 5/6 x, because I'm bringing this over here, and then plus 2. Are we better? Say, yes, we're better. Thanks, Ms. Bond. 5/6, rise and run, and B is still at 2. So we're going to graph these two things. We graph where we live first on the y. I live at 2. Now, from here, I'm going to rise a positive 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before I turn the corner and run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so sure enough, it is a positive slope now. Okay, and the slope over here is positive. And again, they have to match.
So we're gonna go B first.
Yes, you have to
Okay.
find out where you live,
And
establish where
that's
you
on
live.
2. And then we're gonna
Rise and run.
rise, and we're gonna go up 5.
Yes,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna run 6.
yes.
3, 4, 5, 6.
And
Okay.
that's your friend's house. And
Got
you
it.
join the 2 points.
Okay. I couldn't understand why I was on 7, on the line 7, and then
Because of that 7, because you
the
left the
rise
X
and
out.
run. Because we start at home, and then we rise and run.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Any questions? Before I finish, I'm going to check the other worksheets and see if there's anything extra that maybe might cause you problems. It looks like on this page, it's fine. One of the things that Brandy reminded me yesterday is that if you have a plain old X and nothing, no number in front, all of your variables always have a number in front. So if it's not showing, it's a 1. And it'll help you to put a 1 in front of that negative X. Okay. Now on the next page, this is multiple choice. Yes, yes.
Why haven't you been graphing on
I don't know. I just didn't get there.
the?
I just change my mind from day to day. Now we're looking at page 7. I want you to flip over there because I want you to show you how we're going to work these out. This is multiple choice, and they give you an equation. This first one is already solved for y, so that's good. Now, the easiest way for you to find the correct slope, the correct graph, is right out to the side, put what the slope is out of the equation and put what the y-intercept is. Now, what's the y-intercept in this equation? -3? -3, right? So you're going to be able to eliminate some of these. So go to your y-axis on each one of your choices, and the ones that don't cross the y-axis at -3, mark them out. So it looks like we're going to be able to eliminate C for, no, not C, B, because our graph doesn't even go across our home, right? Our home is -3. The y-intercept is -3. Do y'all see? I still see some.
Yes.
Brandy, is that a question or you're listening?
A is the right one, right?
Oh, are you already going the slope too? Yes. Okay. After you find the ones that cross at -3, then you need to go from the -3, rise and run 5/1. And Brandy is correct. If you start at -3 and you rise 5 and run 1, then that is graph number A. Do you see? Yeah, you're sleepy. And it looks like all of them on this page, they solved it for Y already for you. So you don't have to do that part. Always write down what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. So today, page 8, which is the last page in your packet, is some more new information. And so you're not going to do page 8 today. We will take care of page 8 tomorrow and finish this packet on Friday. How is that?
Great.
Great timing. Don't you think? Okay, any questions, Doris?
No questions.
Good, good. Thank you for being here. That's all
welcome.
for today. I want you all to work on page 6 and page 7. And I have a feeling some of you have so much with family and jobs that you probably have some back stuff in this packet too. Let's finish this packet all the way to page 8 and I'll explain and we'll work page 8 tomorrow. Deal?
Deal.
Okay.